I love Asian girls. Unfortunately, through my experiences, it's become clear to me that they don't love me back. There's a lot of reasons why they're not interested in me. One reason that is not my fault is my race. I'm black and Hispanic. It's rare to see an Asian girl be open to dating a black or Hispanic guy. Another reason has to do with the label that is associated with non-Asians who prefer to date Asian girls. Yellow fever. I hate that term. But what's the big deal? It's just a label. Give me a couple minutes. I'll explain just how detrimental and hypocritical the term yellow fever truly is.
At long last, I've ascended.
It should be noted that this video does not represent the behavior of every Asian female. Every person and every situation, especially when it comes to dating, is different. In spite of that, it's in my opinion that Asian women tend to ridicule non-Asian males for preferring to date Asian women. So much so that I felt that it was necessary to call out the Asian women who are doing this. It's up to you to decide whether or not you agree with my opinion, or you feel as though my opinion comes from a bias or a racist viewpoint. I apologize to the Asian women who do not represent the views that I've expressed in this video. But I refuse to apologize to the significant amount of Asian women that this video applies to. What you are doing is wrong, and someone needs to call you out on it. So, what's it like to be a non-Asian male who likes to date Asian girls, or as Asian girls like to call them, guys who have yellow fever? Well, in general, to a non-Asian male, the Asian community can be very intimidating. It's not uncommon to see Asians grouped together in social places such as schools and bars. When an outsider constantly sees Asians sticking together and labeling non-Asians who like Asian girls with yellow fever, it belittles their feelings. That's right, men have feelings too. We don't want to be treated as if we have some sort of disease that needs to be cured, but that's exactly the way Asian girls will treat men who approach them if they feel as though the guy talking to them likes Asian girls. But who cares? You're a man, so just get over it. Well, some do. Some guys can go after what they want regardless of the opposition that they face. However, for a significant number of guys, especially if they've been pursuing Asian girls and getting a negative reception for a while, their confidence will start to shake. Whether it be immediately or after being in Asian situations for a couple of months, outsiders will begin to feel like they're being judged by Asian girls before they even speak, especially if they're in an Asian group or at an Asian bar. In some cases, he'll be spot on, but in other cases, he won't be. Some Asian girls will actually be interested in the outsider, but the outsider's game will be so off that he won't be able to capitalize, and he'll end up missing a crucial opportunity. This will lower the outsider's confidence even further, and put him in a downward spiral of failure with no one in sight. Oh, so seeing the ramifications of giving someone a label with a negative connotation isn't enough to convince you just how ridiculous the term is? Then let's look at it from the Asian female perspective. For years, it looked as though Asian females preferred to date within their own race. This alone made it hypocritical for Asian females to condemn guys of other races for having their own racial preferences. More recently, however, Asian females have begun dating white men. It's important to note that with both Asian and white men, it doesn't seem as though Asian females have any problem stating that they have a preference. So let's recap. A black, Hispanic, or white guy can get ridiculed for preferring Asian girls. But no one ridicules Asian girls for dating men within their own race. Taking it one step further, Asian girls have now started to date outside their race, but stereotypically speaking, they just stick to white men. So now we have Asian women out there who want to date a specific race that isn't their own. Now they've added a whole new layer of hypocrisy to the mix. You would think that even if they're not interested in black or Hispanic men, Asian girls could at least understand where black and Hispanic men are coming from, and that they would respect their dating preferences. Nope! You try and bring that argument to an Asian girl. Hell, tell them that you don't mind if they prefer to date black or Hispanic men. Nothing works. But why? Why do Asian girls ridicule non-Asians for having a preference to date Asian girls? I have a couple of theories. There are people out there with yellow fever that are actually disgusting about it and are giving not just guys that like Asian girls, but guys in general a bad name. However, when it comes to guys, unfortunately, they can be nasty in general when it comes to courting women. There's really nothing out of the ordinary about a guy being nasty when hitting on a girl when they have yellow fever compared to any other guy hitting on any other girl. Besides, that's not every guy. And I'm pretty sure at this point that Asian girls understand the difference between a preference and a fetish. Another theory that I have is that, well, Asian girls can get away with it. When it comes to dating in general, it seems as though men's concerns are not addressed compared to the concerns of females. Therefore, if an Asian girl has any type of preference in the men that she dates, no one is going to ridicule them about it because guys are too busy chasing after women to care. Guys are more concerned about getting the girl than they are about being on a level playing field. However, the real reason, in my opinion, is pretty simple. Yellow fever is an excuse that Asian girls use to turn down guys that they have no interest in to begin with. Think about it. If a girl of any race is really interested in a guy, and she finds out that this same guy likes to date girls of a particular race that she just so happens to be a part of, do you think that it's going to be a turnoff for that girl? Something tells me that it won't be. So what better way to turn a guy down without having to look bad than making him look bad for something that he has no control over? You don't get any of the blame, and you don't feel guilty. But once again, when the roles are reversed, you don't have to worry about looking bad because you're a girl. I find this last reason important because I think it explains why Asian females have a dating preference. At first I thought they mostly dated Asian males because of societal pressures from friends and family, but after seeing the Asian white couple upsurge along with there still being a lack of Asian girls dating black and Hispanic men, I felt as though this solidified my belief that Asian women aren't just unattracted to black and Hispanic men physically, they don't consider them worthy to date. Black and Hispanic men have a negative image in the minds of Asian girls, and even if an individual black or Hispanic man's personality is the complete opposite of that image, simply dating them in the Asian girl's opinion associates them with that negative black or Hispanic image, which is a deal breaker in their eyes. And that's why it's so hard for a black or Hispanic man to date an Asian girl. Therefore, the yellow fever excuse is just a mask that Asian girls use not just to hide their personal preferences for Asian and white men, but more importantly, to hide their own deeply rooted prejudices and racist views of black and Hispanic men. Many people will disagree with my views on not only yellow fever, but Asian racism in general. However, whenever I discuss this topic, there are usually two arguments that I hear, which include either deflecting the issue by looking at a different form of racism, or ignoring the issue altogether by looking at Asian racism as a faction of racism as a whole. Here's the problem with both of those arguments. Taking the focus off the issue by saying, what about the Asian guy that likes to date black girls, doesn't take away from the racism that a non-Asian male has to face when they pursue an Asian girl. Just because there are other girls out there of different races that may be equally or more racist than some Asian girls, it doesn't justify Asian racism. Just because there are Asian girls out there who don't fit into the mold that I've expressed, it doesn't take away from the credibility of what I've said. Even if 40% of Asian girls don't act in the way that I've expressed in this video, that leaves 60% that do, which is a huge problem. You can't deflect it, and you can't ignore it. Using yellow fever as a justification to shame guys that you're not interested in is one thing. But what's truly despicable is shaming guys that you're not interested in because you don't respect the guy's race. You have a dating preference? There's nothing wrong with that. You want to be racist? It's a free country, go right ahead. But don't try and make yourselves look like the victim when your own prejudices are the only reason that you're not giving some of these guys out here a chance. At least have the decency to admit that to an extent, you're a part of the problem. I made this video to show just how ridiculous and hypocritical it is to label or make fun of anybody that has an Asian preference. I made this video to show the Asian community that I know exactly what's going on, to show how much it's hurt me over the past 11 years, and to say that I will no longer feel ashamed for having what I know is a natural preference. I gave up on thinking or knowing or even feeling that I'd be successful with Asian girls a long time ago, but unfortunately I still prefer to date them. I don't hate them. I just prefer to date them. Why should I, or anybody else that shares my preference, feel ashamed about that? We shouldn't. And in my case, I refuse to feel ashamed anymore. I'm AngelDodger, and I'll see you next time. If by some miracle you're not offended by this part of the episode, then check out part 1 on the left, which discusses Asian girls' dating preferences from the perspective of an Asian girl. If you want more insight on what it's like to be a black man who prefers to date Asian girls, check out my video in the middle, which is a short film based off of that issue. This is the end of Season 4, so in the very likely event that this is the last video that I'll make for this channel, once again I'd like to thank everyone who's ever watched, liked, or commented on my videos. I'd also like to thank everyone who subscribed to my channel. Last but not least, I'd like to thank everyone who watched this particular video to the very end, and I hope it gave you some insight on the pain a black or Hispanic male more often than not experiences if they are unfortunate enough to find an Asian girl attractive.